like most, you're afraid of rejection, right? And so you reject yourself first. You shrink yourself, you silence yourself, you sabotage yourself, and you call this protection, right? You call it survival. But I don't think it's either. I don't think it's either of those options. I think it's more of a betrayal, a betrayal of self, self-betrayal. Because self-rejection, it doesn't keep you safe. It just keeps you small. It doesn't keep you connected. It just keeps you isolated. And it doesn't spare you from the pain. It actually guarantees it. But let me pull back the curtain just a wee bit on this one here. Because the thing is, you think that if you reject yourself first, you're going to beat others to rejecting yourself. And if you just shrink enough, if you just silence yourself enough, if you just sabotage enough, perhaps then they won't get close enough to hurt you. But have you considered this truth? Have you considered that rejection hurts? Yeah, we know that. Rejection does hurt. But self-rejection? Self-rejection is like this wound that you carry everywhere that you go. That's a tough one. Let's just sit with that one for a moment, shall we? It goes everywhere you go. See, self-rejection, it's subtle. It shows up as shrinking. Shrinking, especially your voice when you're in conversations, or editing yourself to fit what you think others want of you, or pretending that you don't have needs when in reality you do. But acting like you're fine when you're not, oh, that's another component of it. Hey, boys. Yeah. It's the armor. It's the armor that you think, how's it going, boys? Good to see y'all. But here's what's worse. What's worse is when you reject yourself to teach others to do the same thing. In essence, what you're doing is you're modeling invisibility. You're normalizing your own absence, and you disappear. Oh, by the way, those are the boys on my bus. But you're disappearing not because others erase you, but because you are erasing yourself first. And there's also a hidden cost of self-rejection, I believe. See, self-rejection, the price is steep on this one. You think that you're protecting yourself from the pain, but in reality, what you're doing is you're cutting yourself off from connection. You're cutting yourself off from intimacy. And even more, you're cutting yourself off from actually taking up space and belonging. Growth is also impacted because of your subscription to self-rejection. So you're protecting yourself not from rejection, but from actually being known intimately. And here's the irony. The irony is that you long to be seen, yes. You ache to be chosen. You crave that connection that's meaningful. But connection can't find you if you're hiding. But I'd love to trace this pattern just a little bit with you. So track with me, if you would, on this one here. See, the fear of rejection, this leads to self-editing, right? It leads to self-silencing. And it also leads to abandoning yourself, self-abandonment. And self-abandonment, that leads even further to loneliness, to isolation, to this sense of emptiness on the inside. And so you're in essence trying to avoid the pain, but what you're doing is you're really guaranteeing it. You're trying to outrun the rejection, but you're running headlong into isolation. And every time you reject yourself first, you're in essence deepening that very loneliness that you are desperate to escape in the first place. But what self-acceptance actually looks like is like the following. Self-acceptance, it's not grand in its presence. It's not a once and for all sort of a decision that you make and you're good. But this is instead a daily and quiet and deliberate work. It looks like choosing honesty over hiding. That's a courageous step. It looks like choosing to be present over presenting perceived perfection. it looks like choosing to stay true to yourself, even when rejection is a risk from others. And it's refusing to abandon yourself, even when it would be far easier to just disappear. But here's the hard part, but yet liberating. So the thing is, you can't outrun rejection. You can't erase the risk of being unwanted. These aren't things that we can just bow out of. But you can refuse to preemptively reject yourself. Yeah, you can choose that. But on the contrary, you can also choose to be seen. You can choose to be known. You can choose to be loved. And that starts off really with yourself, right? Because the pain of rejection, that's a real one. Yes, it's inevitable. But the pain of self-betrayal goes far deeper. It's lonelier. It's longer lasting, and it's the one pain that you don't have to choose. But let me shift now into what's possible going from here. If you've considered everything I've said so far, here's what's possible. You don't have to live in this preemptive rejection. You don't have to live small or quiet or invisible. See, you can actually learn to stay with yourself. You can get very familiar with this scary zone. So when the fear rises and when the doubt starts to creep in, when the old voices and the old stories whisper that you're not enough, in those moments you can learn to choose. You can take that power of choice and you can choose honesty over hiding. You can choose courage over shrinking. You can choose self-acceptance over self-betrayal. Here are some practical shifts I'd pose for your consideration. Number one, notice when you're shrinking, right? This first step again, notice when it is that you attempted to shrink, to suppress. Note the shame to yourself that you speak. Note the condemnation and try to go reverse to those. Become more conscious and gentle as you're doing this, because you can't change if you aren't able to see what it is you're noticing. So notice when, for example, you're editing yourself to be more palatable, right? Notice yourself when you're silencing your needs to be more likable. Or notice when you're shrinking your truth to avoid conflict. And then name those things, not as failures, but first maybe take a step back and look at those in yourself as part of yourself and say, here's my starting point. And then let me build on this sense of awareness here, okay? Because this is an important practice as well in this progression. Once you notice the things that the ways you're shrinking yourself or self-editing or self-rejecting, remember you have a choice. You can stay silent, yes, or you can actually speak. You can do the familiar disappearing, or you can actually show up. You can betray yourself, or you can begin in small and courageous, brave ways to stay loyal to yourself. Second practical shift for your consideration, practice self-loyalty. Again, practice being loyal to this amazing specimen here, yourself. Self-loyalty looks like this. It means speaking your truth even when it's difficult to do so. It means honoring your boundaries even when it's uncomfortable to do so. It means choosing to stay present with your pain and the discomfort instead of abandoning yourself like has been familiar all this time. See, self-loyalty is this daily practice. It's not dramatic, it's not perfect, it's not flashy, but it's steady, it's faithful, it's honest. And over time, it rebuilds this connection between that you've really been craving, not from others first, but first here with yourself. So let me reframe what rejection really is. So rejection, it's not proof that you're unworthy. It is proof that you were actually seen, that you were noticed, that you were identified, someone noted you. It's proof that you showed up. It's proof that you stayed loyal to yourself, even when it cost you. Because not everyone will choose you. That's not reality. That's not possible. Not everyone is going to love you. But you, who's living in your body, you have that power. You have the capacity to choose yourself. And that's a brilliant starting point. You have the responsibility to love yourself. And you have this invitation to stay with yourself through all of this transition and metamorphosis. But what happens when you stop rejecting yourself? Well, when you stop rejecting yourself, there's some beautiful things that happen. You become safer with yourself first and foremost. You're kinder to yourself, you're more gentle, you become more courageous also, not only with yourself, but also with others. You're practicing with yourself, and then you become open with others. And you become open to real love. Not because you needed it to fix you, but because you're actually ready to receive it and to experience it. See, self-acceptance does not guarantee that you won't be rejected, but it guarantees that you will not be alone. Because you'll be standing with yourself on purpose. You'll be rooted, you'll be grounded, you'll feel whole, you'll feel complete without any need for external validation. So let me bring this all full circle. See, you spent a long time bracing for the rejection that you forgot that there's a deeper betrayal. And that was one that you're actually doing to yourself. But the beautiful part of this whole presentation is you can actually stop that. You can choose differently. You can choose loyalty. You can choose acceptance, right? And you can choose love, starting first and foremost, and most importantly, with yourself. So, I love offering invitations in these. So here's my invitation to you in this episode. Stop rejecting yourself first. Stop shrinking yourself. Stop silencing yourself. Stop self-sabotaging. And instead stand. Stand squarely in your truth. Stand in your worth, which is always there. Stand in your humanity, which we all have and should be affirmed. Not perfectly, and not without fear, but fully and honestly and raw and brave. Because you can't fear rejection and find connection at the same time. You can't hide and you can't be loved simultaneously. You can't reject yourself and be chosen simultaneously. But what you can do is you can start now, like you can start today by choosing yourself first. Because you are so worthwhile. You're not a backup plan, and you're not the last resort. But look to yourself as the foundation for every connection that you'll ever build, starting with yourself. Self-rejection is not protection. Self-acceptance is actually freedom. So that's my invitation. Consider that and act on it. Now, for some of you, this conversation may have hit home. And if it has, search for this title on YouTube. You Can't Be Loved While You're Hiding. It's an episode I put up a few days back. And it's the next step to learning how to show up. Hey boys, how are y'all?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
Good
you.
that's okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be right there. And if you're ready to keep building with me, this self-acceptance that I'm practicing, that I want to encourage you to join me on, I'm going to keep going deeper. I want to grow in this, and so I'd love to invite you to walk alongside me. But thank you for watching this video. I gotta go catch my bus trip. We're heading back on our last leg of the journey, but I appreciate you listening in.